The teaching profession redeemed themselves with me, though, in the 6th grade. I had an excellent teacher there who was, because of the way she wrote up my report at the end of the 5th grade, they called it junior high school in New York City, which is where I went in Brooklyn. That they didn't call it middle school. There were 15 classes in the 6th grade because they tried to keep the numbers 30 or less per class, right?
Sure.
And they organized it by how well they thought you were going to do. So the people that were in 6-1, they were the smart kids. And the people that were in 6-15 were the ones who were barely making it.
Gotcha.
Because of her write-up on me, apparently, in my file, I wound up in 6-14. And I had an excellent teacher. My homeroom teacher was also my English teacher. I wish I could remember. I got to look up her name. I think I still have my book somewhere because she saved me. She's the one that saved me. She actually said, David, I actually, your math is just off the scale. She goes, I think you're at maybe 10th grade or 11th grade level math right now. I can't even keep up with you. That's why she stopped giving me homework assignments in math because she said it was not even worth it. But she said, I decided to focus on your reading. And, I realized that it's not necessarily your reading. It's your penmanship. Has anybody else ever complained about your penmanship? You don't write script very well, do you? And I said, no, I've never been good at that. She goes, I'll tell you what. I'll get in trouble for saying this, so please just don't spread it around. But from now on in my class, and I think even after my class, she goes, don't script write anymore. Don't do that. Just print everything. It'll be slower at first, but eventually you'll pick up speed. And she goes, and to be honest with you, once you get into the professional world after school, nobody's going to want you to write script anyway, except for your signature.
Right.
She was absolutely right. I mean, but then I wound up, and it worked. I mean, my English jumped up. By the end of the 6th grade, I was at 9.1 reading.
Wow.
I had an 11 point something in math, but my reading had jumped up phenomenally. So that teacher was extremely beneficial. And she wound up, because of her recommendation at the end, even before I finished the 6th grade, I wound up getting moved to 6-8.
Wow.
Because, there were people who could not do a lot. I was wasting my time, I guess, in her mind. So she goes, I hate to lose you, but I'll keep in touch with you. And she used to come visit me in my other homeroom, sometimes just to see if I was doing okay. But I still remember that. That was one of the experiences that it's life-changing.
Yep.
And you remember that somebody, I'm spiritual in nature, and to me, that was a spiritual event. It really was. Anyway, I've gone on and on. Sorry about that, Jeremy.
Oh, no problem whatsoever. It's fun trading stories with somebody, and some of the connections with the VAC stuff and the Unix stuff, and it's interesting because there's a little bit of an age gap too, and it's like, yeah, this is kind of cool, and just I remember seeing in old popular mechanics and things the ads for the Heath kits, but I never had one. My uncle, who is now deceased, had a bunch of those old magazines around when I was a kid.
There was Popular Electronics too.
I think he had some of those too. And so I remember seeing a lot of that stuff when I was a kid, and he was sort of integral in getting me interested in technology. He had started me off with the little, the end of the 70s and early 80s, the little electronic games, the baseball and football that had the single LED dots on the screens. Yeah. Ran out of 9-volt battery, and before we had an Atari or a ColecoVision or any sort of game console in the family. I had things like that. Now I did have an interesting experience in my third grade class. My elementary school I started in had closed down, and so my parents made the decision to put us in a private Catholic school, my brother and I. The other two were young enough, they weren't in school yet, but so I started in third grade at the Catholic school, and we were in science class one day, and the subject of magnetism and magnets and all such things came up. And the teacher asked the class, well, what's an example of some place where you would find a magnet? And I threw my hand up because I had great evidence from the prior summer of where you could find a magnet. So my uncle on the other side of the family had given me an old car speaker and a hammer. And so I'd beat on that speaker.
Those are good magnets too.
Until I got the magnet out.
Yeah.
And so when we were sitting in that class, I threw my hand up and I said, "You find magnets in speakers." And that teacher, she told me I was wrong.
Oh, no.
And unfortunately, when I went home and talked with my parents about the situation, they didn't decide to back me up and say anything about it. And, for a while there, that did color my feelings about science, because it was, something I knew for a fact because I'd torn that speaker apart.
So you found it in there.
I had the magnet to prove it. And it's like, what kind of teacher would tell a third grade kid that they're wrong when they can give a real world example of where they can find a magnet? But I can look back on it and laugh now, but it was not a laughing matter to the third grade version of myself.
See, I was a bit more bold than that. I would have said, "Okay, I'll bring you the magnet and you can see it."
Yeah.
But that's the way I've always been. It goes back. My family raised me to speak my mind, which I do. Matter of fact, a lot of people, even my current job, they don't like how quickly and how bluntly I can speak my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Because I like to sleep at night, and
right.
If something's going wrong, I want to let people know that it's going wrong.
Right.
Unfortunately, sometimes politics gets involved, so it's like anything else. That's why it took me so long to get promoted. Because, I'm a little too outspoken based upon the corporate culture that I'm in right now.
Yeah,
that's what happens. But again, I'm perfectly happy with doing that because I like one of my favorite songs is the Frank Sinatra song "My Way."
Mm-hmm.
And there's that one line in there that says, "I've taken the blows, but I did it my way."
Yep.
That's the way I try to live my life.
I find that the older I get, the more outspoken I am. I grew up in a household with a father that owned his own business, and he's a funeral director. And so we were always shushed whenever the phone would ring.
Oh.
And, things got really quiet and serious there for a few minutes.
Mm.
So, it took me a while to break myself out of that mold. And, when I know I'm right, I'm going to speak my mind about something. And, I've had some managers over the years that, didn't like that, but I spent enough time in junior high and high school getting taken advantage of a little bit, and that's not the way I wanted to go forward with things. So it's like, okay, well, I've got to look out for number one, and I forget what movie it was from, but you look out for number one and try not to step in number two. I think that was Rodney Dangerfield in Back to School.
That's right. Oh yeah, that was a fun movie. I like the way he got rid of the car that took his parking spot.
Yes.
That was in a different movie. That was in the one where he had to stop eating in order to get some money from his aunt or something. He had to lose weight. That's the one.
Right.
No, Back to School. I liked. That was one of my favorites. Yeah. There's certain movies that I've always meant to make a video with just those clips. There's certain clips of certain scenes in a movie that I can watch 100 times.
Oh yeah.
I was meant to make like a video that had those clips in it. It would just be for me. I wouldn't put it up on YouTube or anything. But that way, you know, when I feel down or I need motivation, I could watch that and see those little clips. You know, things like in the movie Outlaw Josie Wales. There's the one scene where he's lecturing the people that have been following him along. I don't know if you saw that movie or not.
Years ago.
They're in a cabin and they're about to be attacked by the Native Americans. And he starts lecturing them on how to defend the cabin. And then the last scene there where he stands and he holds on to the post in the middle of the cabin and he goes, and one thing you got to always remember, that if things look bad and you think you're not going to make it, you got to get mean. You got to get mad dog mean. Because if you give up, you neither win nor live. And that's a motivational thing that I grew up in a very tough neighborhood in Brooklyn, Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn. And I had to deal with a lot of street crime people. I mean, friends of mine did not make it out alive. They did not. And you walk out your door there and you could be attacked in broad daylight. It happens. I had knives pulled on me. I had all sorts of things happened. You learn to deal with that. And one thing I don't put up with is somebody trying to take advantage. That's something I learned early on. I guess even back to, when I was a very young child and, bullies would try to bother me. I remember my older brother, who unfortunately didn't survive 15 years old, not because of the crime, but because of an accident. He saw some kids bullying me in the front of my house, and he told me, "Don't put up with that." And I said, "What am I going to do? They're bigger than me." He says, "I don't care. Pick up a stick, pick up a rock." He's like, you don't put up with that.
Yep.
And that was something that sticks with me. I was only 5 years old when he told me that. And I still remember it to this day. And sure enough, when those bullies came around later on, I had a stick like stashed. We had these little gates in front of our house.
Right.
Where I would usually play, where I had toys and stuff that I would play with, and they would come and try to bully me. And I pick up the stick and just held it up. It changed them. They didn't bother me no more after that. But it's just the type of environment that was in. It was very difficult, and it shapes you. It shapes.
Oh yeah,
the type of person you become.
Yep, that it does.
Anyway, I think we've been going a long time at this point, right?
Yep, it's like 5 to 11 now.
What was that? Almost an hour and a half.
Yeah, but hey, this was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to doing another video for your channel.
Okay.
And yeah,
if your viewers can just visit my channel, it would be nice.
All right, absolutely.
Although I've been doing well lately, I don't know what I think the pattern of YouTube that I've read does work. I right now I have up on my third screen up here that I glance at. I don't think this first time I'm looking at it since we're sitting here, but I can see my subscribers, and that's the actual count, not that 1.44K thing that shows to the public. It shows the actual number.
Right.
And then it shows how many views I've had in the last 48 hours. Have you ever looked at that?
Yeah.
There's a pattern to it. When things get quiet at certain times of day, when you don't expect a lot of people to be watching, even though you see the number of active views pretty low, to my average that I would normally see, that number matches my number of subscribers more times than not. So
that I
had
not noticed.
I gather this is my hypothesis, and I didn't. I watched the YouTube creators channels. They got 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
I watch their videos whenever they come out. And I always thought about posting a question about that, but I thought maybe somebody there might get mad at me, because I think what's happening here is one of their automatic algorithms, it's making an attempt to recommend your videos. This is my hypothesis,
mm-hmm.
based on how many subscribers you have, which shows that whole snowballing effect that a lot of people see.
Right.
That, it's like my last 448 subscribers have been a lot easier to get than that first 1,000.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they came a lot quicker, a lot easier. I put in a lot more effort before on some of those videos.
Mm-hmm.
But you never know what people are going to like. It still shocks me, what videos do well. I mean, I made a silly video which I thought nobody was going to watch, and it's my number 1. It's actually what I'm using right now, because I got my Sony ZV-1 compact camera. I just recently got it. It's one of the new ones they came out with. It's meant for vloggers. Okay. And I have that coming out of its HDMI clean output that camera has. And I have it going through. I didn't want to spend $150 on the Elgato cam link.
Right.
I do have an Elgato card in my computer that allows me to capture from another computer very easily. So it's HDMI in and out. So I use that quite often. But I didn't have an extra $150 to spend on just the little cam link thing. So I started looking around, and I found one out there, a no-name one. Even to this day, I don't know who makes this. It doesn't say a lot. But it just says that it's a video capture card. It only goes 1080. It only goes 1080p,
mm-hmm.
which is more than enough most of the time. It's more than enough for this, and more than enough for the other ones that I go on to. Like if it's oh, so that's yours?
That's the capture card I've got.
Is there a name brand on it?
Mirrorbox.
At least you got a name. There's no name of a company on mine.
Yeah, Mirrorbox HD video capture is the only markings on it.
This thing cost me. The price was like $11.
Oh wow!
But they hit me for another $4 for shipping. So I paid out of pocket $15 for that.
Wow.
And it came in early because it said it was on the slow boat from where, right?
Right.
Which is where I think it came from. And I was shocked that it came in so early. I remember getting home from work and it was here. And I was like not expecting it for like another month. And that was like maybe 10 days later. So I quickly said, I hadn't put a video up in a while. So I quickly put a quick video together, just reviewing that, doing a box opening and a quick review, putting this same camera on it and plugged it in and showed how it worked. The video itself is 5 minutes, I think. It's very short.
Mm-hmm.
And that is my number 1. That thing is like at 15,000 views now.
Wow.
That little video, which I never would have imagined would have been a hit. And when I look at the ones that people are watching, it just amazes me. Now, I sort of expected the ones about upgrading from Windows 7 to Windows 10 to be popular.
Right.
But it just so happens that mine came out at the right timing, just when Microsoft announced they were dropping support for Windows 7. Everybody made the assumption that once the support ended on January 14th,
mm-hmm.
that they would no longer be able to get the free upgrade. Matter of fact, officially, they said the free upgrade ended almost 2 years earlier.
Right.
It still was working because I had just done it for one of my other older computers. So I made 2 videos on that. Well, the first one did well, so obviously you try to go with what's a winning formula. I made another one when people started questioning whether or not it would still work after January 14th. So I went out and I got this cheap refurbished PC from Newegg,
mm-hmm.
and the thing only cost me like $60. It's got an i5 2400. It came with like 4 gig of memory.
Mm-hmm.
But it came with a license for Windows 7. Windows 7 Professional. So I already had done that back earlier. I had done it just to show that I could upgrade that when I made a video about that. But then I waited till after January 14th, and I made another one to show that it still worked after, and it still works today. You could, if you have a legitimate license for a Windows 7, you can upgrade it to Windows 10 for free. And if you have a professional version, you get the professional version of Windows 10 too.
Right.
So that one is popular too. I expected that one to be.
Yeah.
That's one of the few that I have on my list of videos that are popular that I was expecting it. But some of the silliest ones, like the monitor I'm looking at right now, this very inexpensive LG 4K monitor, which I now have two of them here side by side. I did a review on it, not thinking anybody would be interested in it. And that's like number 3 on my list. And then I had people complaining that the little card I bought for $15, because some other YouTuber, which I won't name here, did a video on them. He had another one that cost $30.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went and said that one had better qualities than this one. So I had people putting comments on my video saying, you obviously, reviewed junk. You needed the other model of it. So what I went and did is I bought the other one.
Right.
And I did a video comparing them. They're the same chip. To
Sounds
OBS,
about right.
OBS, they identify themselves exactly the same. And I did testing. And that more expensive one advertised 60 frames per second. No. Only 30. Just like this one. That's all it is. And OBS shows it, and I proved it. I made a video putting the two side by side, and I used my Elgato capture to compare it against. Now, that's 60.
Right.
At 1080p 60. That's 60 for sure. This thing is only 1080p 30.
Right.
Which is fine, because that's what I record in anyway. It's no big deal, right? For most of what I'm doing. But I guess the people who are doing gaming, that might be a bigger issue.
Yeah.
Right? If they're doing gaming. But I never bought it for gaming. I bought it so that I could do what I'm doing here. Hook up one of my DSLRs as a webcam.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the quality of this much better than one of my webcams.
Yeah.
It's a much higher quality. I can adjust it. I can set the right aperture and the right ISO and things like that. So, but I mean, looking at that, and right now, the number one, believe it or not, the number one is this webcam I just bought, a cheap webcam I bought, and I did a review. And I'm getting a lot of hits on that, but still, it doesn't compare to the hits that I get on this particular USB webcam. It's just unbelievable how many views I got, and most of the real big hits have been surprises to me.
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough.
I think my top video was I'm drawing a blank on the name of the software, but it was a piece of Windows software that lets you resize your hard drive or your hard drive partition. And I don't generally do a lot of Windows stuff on my channel. And my next closest video, let's see, that video has over 22,000 views, and the next closest one is half of that. Yeah. And that was installing what is it, Open RDP or Free RDP, one of the RDP protocols on Ubuntu, so that you can use the Windows tool to connect to a Linux system. And people just ate that one up as well. So, and I didn't expect that one to go anywhere, honestly. But
when I hear that's a very common pattern with these things, right?
Yeah.
People, I like what one guy said. I wish I remember his name so I give him credit. But he said it the best. He goes, his best advice for growing your channel is to just keep putting up videos.
Absolutely.
He equated it to the lottery. who has the better chance of hitting the lottery? The one who buys one ticket or the one who buys 100 tickets?
Right.
So if you just keep putting up, you're going to get better every time you make a new video.
Absolutely.
It's obvious that happens because you get better practice. I mean, I found it very difficult, even though I considered myself a very good instructor in front of classes. Talking to a camera lens is totally different.
Yes.
And even now I have to, even this camera has a little side articulating screen to it. And I find myself looking at that too much. I try to look at the lens whenever it occurs to me that I'm doing the wrong thing. But looking at and with the light in the back of it like I have, I don't even see the lens. I just see, a little bit of a shadow of a camera.
Right.
And so looking at that and talking as if you're talking to a person is very difficult. It takes a lot of getting used to.
Yeah.
And the more you do it, the more comfortable you get doing it. So that's true about you getting better depending on how many you do. But more importantly, you have more tickets in the lottery.
Absolutely.
You never know which one's going to hit. You never know. And that's apparently a very common story amongst a lot of people. They actually find that, they're going along, struggling, and then suddenly they put a video up and boom, it hits. It hits. There's this guy in the UK that I watched. When I first watched him was because I happened to latch on to his big hit. It was recommended to me. He made a video that had to do with how much money he made with 30,000 subscribers.
Okay.
And he didn't quite have 30,000. I saw people leaving comments. How could you say you have 30,000 when it only says, 28,000 and change, Of course, people are going to comment about everything. Although I'm surprised I get so many good comments. It's rare that I get a negative one. Although I wish I had like 100 times more comments. Right. But still, I can't complain about the comments being too negative. They're by and far all positive. But so I latched onto it. I watched that video. It was a decent video. I usually watch videos all the way through. A lot of people don't do that because you never know when you're going to get a tidbit of knowledge out of it, somewhere along the way. So I always look for that. But most people don't have that patience to go through that and watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'll bail too, especially if the topic is starting to deviate too much from what I expect. But that's probably the minority of the ones that I look at. But I watched his video and it was interesting. Well, that video got him, I don't know, almost 1 million hits.
Wow.
And he jumped up in less than 2 months. He jumped up from 28,000 and change to 60,000 subscribers.
Wow.
And that video, and he made follow-ons. He did what people advise. You get a hit, you keep going with what works, right?
Yep.
So he made 2 or 3 more videos along the same lines. And those were not as popular as the first one. Just like, I made 2 videos related to these cam link things. Still the most popular one is the first one.
Right.
And I think what happens is YouTube, they see a lot of people watch something, they'll recommend it more, right?
Right.
That's what they do. So you'll get recommended when something is a big hit. They want to give the hit to more people to look at.
Yeah.
But I swear there's a pattern to this in terms of their recommendations. I think the algorithm or I know they have more than one algorithm out there running simultaneously. I think one of them is really trying to match up the number of views in the last 48 hours to your number of subscribers, because I have recorded it. I have taken screen captures. It goes all the way back to when I only had like 600 subscribers. I've seen that pattern because I happen to have this one screen up on the top here. I don't use much unless I have a real complex thing going on. So I usually just leave up my channel analytics at all times. So I can see how many subscribers I have. It's a little frustrating, they say you shouldn't be watching it. But, suddenly I'm doing good and I pick up 2 subscribers and then 10 minutes later they're gone. And I'm like, that really sets you back a little bit, when you see that happen.
Yeah.
But I do keep it up there and I like to look at it. Activity right now has been pretty low because you see the hour by hour activity. April, May, June, July, August. Yeah, in September it'll be 18 months. So very soon I'll hit my anniversary for 18 months. But I've been putting a lot of videos up.
Yeah.
Most weeks I put 2 videos up. Not always, but most weeks.
Yeah.
I noticed you've been putting a lot up lately.
I've been trying to. I found, and the apartment I'm in does not have central air or anything. So I found that the middle of July to probably the last week of August is usually the worst period of time for me, because it's just been so warm in the apartment that it's hard to concentrate on making videos.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But I put a first test video up back in 2014, and then I didn't do anything with it until 2017. And so that first year, I think I put out like 39 videos in 2017. 2018 was 60. 2018 was 70, and 2019 was 80 videos in a year's time. I'm hoping to hit 90 this year. And
that's about the same rate that I have then. I figure about 90 a year is what it's the pace I'm currently on.
Yeah. I had originally started the year hoping to hit 100 for the year, but with COVID hitting and sort of being in limbo there for a while, there was a period earlier in the year that I didn't put out a lot of videos either. So I'm a little behind where I wanted to be for the year, but now that I've got StreamYard, I'm hoping to make that up and do a few more live videos along with the pre-recorded stuff, and maybe rally to that 90 number by the end of the year. So, but I'm also attempting to be a numbers guy. I'm really not, but I'm attempting to be. I've kept a spreadsheet. So part of my routine is every Sunday morning I go through and I capture a bunch of the numbers out of YouTube Studio.
Right, the analytics, yeah.
And so I can take and I can make all kinds of graphs. And I've got the numbers going back every Sunday for almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think about a year ago, I started seeing periods of exponential growth and really noticing that as a pattern. And it's like, okay. And then, I hit 1,000 in March of this year, and I think 27 subscribers away from hitting 1,700 now.
Wow, that's good.
So it's been growing fast since March. Even in those periods that I haven't released a lot of videos, it's still been growing faster than what it has previous years. So I'll take it. I'm hoping to continue accelerating this. I do enjoy making these videos. It originally started off as one of those situations where there were things when I was teaching at the vocational college that, I felt the students needed to have access to the information for, and it wasn't part of our curriculum that, was standardized across the campuses. And so I started making videos just to have a resource of supplemental information to pass along to the students. And then I could record it once, and I didn't have to, try to balance meeting with as many students individually if I could point them at one reference.
Right.
So, that was the original idea for my channel, was just that supplemental information. And then, I had one video hit decent, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And
yeah, that's what we all need to hit. We need to get that one video, right? Everybody says you're one video away from great success.
Yeah. So
I don't think I've hit it yet, but I'm trying to hit it.
Well, I mean, I'm not as big as I aspire to be, I guess, but doing this from a little town in Michigan, I look at the numbers, it's like, I don't know 1,600 people in person. This is a big deal.
Well, I wish I could get. I mean, my biggest online presence right now, believe it or not, in terms of what they refer to as connections, is LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
And on LinkedIn, I have something in the order of 15,000 people that I'm connected to.
Wow.
I get a dozen requests almost every day. I even put a reference to my channel on LinkedIn, but I don't think I've gotten too much traffic from them. I've been thinking about lately, maybe I should put videos up on LinkedIn too. You can do that. Yep. So I was thinking about that. The only problem I have is that LinkedIn is more tied to my day job.
Right.
And I don't want to cross that line and get myself in trouble with our compliance and ethics department. Because I did, they did, tell me what the limits are.
Right.
And they might interpret that as me trying to capitalize on my position. I think a lot of people who have connected to me through LinkedIn, they see my credentials and they see something they might want to get into. Matter of fact, you could look me up on LinkedIn and you'll see then what my day job is if you're interested. That's all I'll say about it.
All righty.
I'd rather not say it online. I don't say it in any of my videos. And the only thing that there was fair. Even a hint of it was 5 of my early videos, 5 of my first 50 videos, I took little snippets from videos I didn't make, but I'm the subject of it. When I was doing my MBA program a few years back, for most of the team presentations that we did, almost for every module of the program, they videotaped it. Now, I wish they would have videotaped it properly, where they showed my presentation slides like in one corner or next to me,
right,
and then showed me. But for example, there were either 4 or 5 team members in a team, and they made sure that you didn't have to have everybody talk, but most of the time you did, because we're all type A personalities in that program, so everybody wants to have their say, right? So, which is good, because I was part of that too. I wasn't going to complain about it, but I had to take the snippet that was in the video. They gave me the MP4 for all the ones that from my team. They gave me all the MP4s, and I edited it, and I put only myself, and I cut out if there was even a handshake with a team member, because you would handshake when you're switching positions on stage as you're transferring mics. So I cut that out. But I took my presentation, which I still had, and I put it in the corner, matching the slides that I was talking about at any particular moment. So I have those presentations out there. And in a couple of those, you could see probably in the background who I work for. But I don't mention it.
Right.
I don't mention that I work for them in my presentation. We had to act in these courses as if we're consultants.
Okay.
And we were doing a job for some company. And some of them were for the company I work for, but not all of them. We also had other companies that the professors, the program was linked with in other industries even. Like we had Dannon Yogurt was one of the ones we did a project for.
Sure.
And all 5 teams in our program did the same project. And they all came up with slightly different results. Dannon Yogurt was interesting because they made us create a product. It was the marketing course. And they made us create our own product that had to have some yogurt in it. And then you had to create it and talk about it and mock up a model of it. Obviously, we couldn't make it so you could actually taste it.
Right.
But we were able to make the packaging that would go along with it and explain what the ideas behind it were and all of that. So, and each one of the teams had a different product they created. It was all up to the team to come up with it. The professors didn't even give you much guidance on it. They gave you guidance on how to follow the marketing way you had to do things, but they didn't give you guidance on what your ideas were. They left the ideas up to the team members. Very interesting. So I have some of those videos up on my channel as well, where I took those little sections. They don't last more than 5 minutes. I think that's the longest one, actually. And then that's my section of the presentation. And then I put my slides up, only my slides up in the corner. And I did a screen capture of it and then blended them together with the video editor. So you can see it in one corner. And you can actually then see what I'm talking about. But it was weird because they would give us these videos of us presenting the teams. And all you got to see was the presenter. You might get a glance of the board in the background, but the camera was not focused on that.
Right.
And of course, it's a projection coming from the ceiling on it of the PowerPoint. So it's not going to pick it up well to start with. It would have been nice if they could have had a feed from that into the video camera. Because it's possible. The camera they had was a $30,000 camera. I talked to the guy because I like photography. I wasn't involved in YouTube then, but I like cameras and I like photography. The guy was an employee of the organization who was doing the videoing, and I talked to him about it. And I said, after the first one that I saw didn't have our presentations on it, because I assumed that, I guess initially, that he would be able to put our presentation on it, but it wasn't. And I went to him when we went to do the second one, and I said, does that camera support a feed? Can you take like a feed from a computer and put it into there, like through an HDMI? He says, yeah, I got 2 connections for that. I can take 2 feeds. And I said, and you could put it like little smaller pictures in the same screen. He goes, absolutely. They don't want me to do that for this, which shocked me because that would have been technology that they didn't take advantage of. It would have also given people something better to take away with that.
Right.
I had to create it. I did recreate it fairly accurately, but it would have been nice if everybody had that.
Yeah.
Of course, I only did the ones I did good in. I'll be totally honest with you. We did 8 presentations, and I think only 5 of them I consider myself having done well. Let's put it that way. But if you watch one of them, you'll see when one of them was on the finance module, one was on the human resources module that we had to do, what they called organizational something. I forget the second word for it, but it had to do with HR. And another one was on. We actually did work for a beer company to create a microbrewery, and that's one of my Excel spreadsheets that I created using macros in order to show how we could run an actual brewery. What we went into it, what went out of it. I'm going to make a video about that because that one's very interesting.
It sounds interesting.
A lot of work too, and it shows what you can do with Excel, and you can't even tell that that's Excel really.
Right.
You look at it, it looks like what I do is I put a white background first, so it just has a blank white background, and then I put up on the sections of it. You do see tables in it, but that's a regular program would show that too. So if you look at that, it's very hard to know that that's actually Excel. You would think that somebody just wrote a program, in HTML or something. It looks that good. Yeah. But I have a few of those. I have one on a power plant. We actually created a power plant, running a power plant that way. Another one on another one, like I said, on the brewery, and there was a third one. I just can't remember it right now. But I didn't put that one up because that was a bad day for me presentation-wise. If I actually made a video like that now, I would start over again. Right. I haven't done that much, but I don't know if you've done that, but I've done a video and then I looked at it afterwards and I said, this is not repairable.
I've done that a few times.
So I had
after making all the edits and rendering it out, I watched it back and it's like, yeah, I'm just not happy with this. I'm going to scrap it and start over.
Yeah.
But I'm not the type of guy that usually scripts out videos, since so much of it is demonstration based. Yep. At most I'll put together an outline.
Yeah, the same thing with me. I don't think I've ever actually scripted one out, but I did have outlines. Sometimes I'll have the outline on the screen next to me, like right here, and I'll have the camera here and the screen right here next to me. I have an outline, and sometimes I have to read it carefully, and that gets edited out.
Right.
So I actually have to stop talking and really read something and try to decide how I want to present that.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I do that, I go back to the camera. I don't go to the elaborate. I mean, this one girl, a young woman, that I subscribe to, she made just like talking head videos about just about anything. Now she's got a side business. This girl is maybe 30, and she's already a millionaire.
Wow.
And I started watching her early on, even before I had my channel. And she actually described how she has created a template for her camera screen. She has a much larger camera screen. I think she got one that you attach to the camera afterwards, right? And she created a transparency that has the position of her head on it. And she can see that in the screen. So if she needs to stop talking to regain what she wants to say, and she only films in 30-second segments. So she'll have what she has to say in 30 seconds, and then she'll stop and prepare for the next 30 seconds. But she has it set up, and you can hardly tell that she's doing it, because she has her head inside the template when she stops the camera. And she makes sure she gets her head back in the template before she starts it again.
Okay.
That's amazing that she has that level of attention to detail. With me, I just wind up having to cut some garbage out. You'll see my head first; it'll be here, and then it'll jump to over here.
Right.
I try my best to keep it steady, but you can't. Sometimes I'm looking over here, and then it jumps over here. But my voice comes out okay, which is the important part. So I take a little bit of jumping around on the video sometimes, as long as the voice, which is what my initial investments were all in audio. I've heard that's what all the biggies do. They getting the audio right is the critical thing.
Yeah, I just received today my audio interface, so I'm going to be able to hook up. Well, this mic that I'm using now is XLR and USB. And I've been running it USB, waiting until I could, find a good deal on a audio interface. And I just happened to find one. It was $60 off. So I jumped on it, and it arrived today ahead of schedule, but I didn't have time to set it up and test it out before the video tonight. So I just left this on USB, but it's just a progression of tools to add to the arsenal and try to make the videos better as you go.
I found this very handy. I don't know if you ever had one of these or saw one of these.
I have not.
It has 2 XLR inputs.
Okay.
It can record based up. Length is enormous, and battery longevity is fantastic. And then you can easily, it produces an audio output that you could then link up directly with your video.
Wow.
I misplaced it, but I had a little beeper, a little thing you press and it beeps.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps you synchronize the audio to the video.
Oh, nice.
It makes it easy to see the beep. It's at the right frequency that shows up very easily on the camera's audio versus a recorder's audio.
Right.
And you can replace the camera's audio with the audio from this. And it's amazing what you can do with this. You can actually create blends of videos. It has multiple inputs that it can put together in one audio track.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have an XLR microphone, so I haven't used this part yet, but it also has on the back of it. I did a review of this, so I'm doing a secondary. You can put a regular mic here,
mm-hmm.
right, to go into the back of, and that's usually what I'm using. This also can be used. It has a USB output. Obviously, you can use it to charge through the USB if you want,
right?
Because I have rechargeable batteries in here, or it becomes a HDMI, a USB converter.
Nice.
So you can actually plug this in. I could be using this right now. You wouldn't know it. I could plug one of my mics in here, whether it's a lapel mic or even, well, I wouldn't want to do this one. This this Blue Yeti is already USB.
Mm-hmm.
If I have a non-USB mic, and I have a couple of lapel mics like that are not USB. I don't think I have one handy right here now. Then I could plug that regular, the regular stereo small micro connector into here, and it'll you have scales on it, so you can see what the amplitudes are.
Mm-hmm.
You can adjust the volumes of all inputs.
Very nice. 4
separate buttons here to deal with it. Unbelievable. And this didn't cost that much. It really didn't cost. You can buy these used too. You'll find a lot of these on what's the name of it?
eBay.
eBay, yes. Yeah, I don't use it that often, but once in a while I do.
Yeah.
That PC you see behind me, which I'm using just as a prop right now, that has a motherboard on it that I bought through eBay.
Okay. I think I saw the video where you built that.
Yes, yeah. And all the other parts were parts I had left over. The reason I got that is I had a spare CPU chip that was pulled out of my daughter's machine. Right? I gave her the first HP low profile PC that I bought, the refurbished one.
Right.
We upgraded the CPU from an i5 to an i7.
Okay.
But then we had the extra i5 and I had extra memory. I wound up upgrading the memory on it, as I showed in my video, though. But right now, I usually have this as a prop. I try to match the color here with what I just recently got this one. I just did the video. The light that's projecting against my screen in the back here.
Nice.
That's part of my new studio, and I could change this to whatever I want. That's a nice little device. I'm surprised not many people are watching it, but I thought it was a pretty nifty little thing to have, and it gives you the accent. And right. I could even have the accent on me. I put it on a tripod. I could have it give myself some extra color on one side. I can't convince my wife, though, to let me paint the walls black. I even tried to negotiate, well, how about just the ceiling? Because if I could do that, then I could reduce the light reflections in here.
Right.
But she won't let me do it. But what I will do is right now that pull-down screen,
mm-hmm.
the mechanism I have is, as you're going to see in my next video that goes up tomorrow if you looked at it, it can support 3 different rolls of paper.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to buy a black and a green. So
Okay.
I'll have a green screen capability there. And the black is good when I want black rather than white.
Right.
Which sometimes you don't want that effect. You want to have a nice dark background. And maybe just move this PC, off to the side and just be like an accent light by itself.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been spending a lot of time looking at those videos on how to set up your studios, as you could imagine.
Yeah.
But,
well, I've got a green screen, but the size of my little home office here, if I set up the green screen, it almost makes the room claustrophobic because it's got a scaffold almost that you hang it off from.
I have that too. I have that's my older one I have.
Yeah. So I've got that taken down at the moment. So you're seeing the darker blue accent wall behind me. Yeah, I've been toying with the idea of doing something different with the green screen or, something different behind me. Some sort of props back there because you've got messy cables over my other shoulder here.
I didn't do the cable management here. That's why you can still see. I'm going to fix that soon.
Yeah.
But, this is a nice camera because, as you noticed, when I held up the product, right, that's one thing nice about this Sony. It has the ability to refocus on something held up. So it focuses right away on that. It has a special feature in it that's just designed for that. Nice. And I can also turn what's called a bokeh mode on.
Mm-hmm.
It can be pronounced bokeh mode.
Right.
I don't know if that works here or not. I didn't try it. Let me see if it works here. If I turn this on, you probably wouldn't notice because the background's probably already blurry. But let me hit this bokeh mode. It says it's on, but you know what it is? My F is already so low.
Right.
It doesn't change anything. If I was running a larger f-stop,
then
it would work. But right now my f-stop is 1.8.
Okay.
Which is the minimum that camera can support anyway.
Yeah.
But if I had it set for something different than that, Then when I hit the bokeh mode, it would bring it down to 1.8 immediately, and make the other adjustments on, you know, the speed and the ISO appropriately, so that the background becomes very blurry.
Right.
And I did a review of this camera. I did actually 2 videos of it too. I like it a lot. It's become my primary, even though the one I have back here on my shelf was the one I started with. So if you look at this one here that I have on my rack here, it's kind of hard to get it in frame. Here we go.
There it goes.
I set this up as a thing. This is the hat that my daughter bought me, which has my channel on, identified on it.
All right.
I was thinking of getting one done with, you know, engraving, where it has the colors to it too.
Right.
But here I have, you know, my sports camera, just put on a tripod that I had extra. And here's my my Panasonic Lumix.
Okay.
FZ1000. That was my first camera that was worth anything. I have another one that's just a regular camcorder. That's 1080p only. So my first few videos were done with that one.
Right.
But once I got to this one, the quality went way up. That's when I started going 4K. This little Sony one is also 4K.
Yeah.
So I got 2 4K cameras. It makes it a lot nicer.
Yeah. Well, I'm still using a Logitech C920 webcam. But a lot of my videos are screen recordings, so I haven't put the investment into the camera equipment yet. More trying to hash out the audio stuff, and then, you know, probably next year I'll be looking at another camera to make the video a little bit better. My constraint on this end right now is that my upload speed for doing live stuff is pretty low. So like right now, the StreamYard is dropping us to 720p.
Isn't that the default? But you're paying for this one, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so you should be able to go higher, right?
Yeah, it'll do 1080, but my bandwidth on this end, my upload speed is low enough that you know, I've tried with OBS, even using a 2 computer setup and the NDI plugin. I still had trouble maintaining the stream at 1080. So I'm just kind of taking a step back from that, at least for the live stuff. But when it comes to pre-recorded stuff, I'm hoping by mid 21 I can have something that, you know, I can record in 4K, and the pre-recorded stuff will see a boost in image quality.
I just noticed my servers in the background. I did a whole series on that one. This is my boy. I'm drawing blanks. I guess it's getting late. What you made? I think that's how I latched onto you, was a video you made on that particular free.
Open Media Vault.
No,
a fog.
It starts with an X.
Oh, XCPNG.
No,
or Zigmanaz.
Zigmanaz, yes.
Zigmanaz.
That's running Zigmanaz.
Okay.
And the equivalent in ZFS of a RAID 5.
Okay.
So I got 4 6 terabyte drives in it.
Very nice.
And I'm getting 3/4 of that in actual usable space.
Right.
And it's been nice. I like it. It's also my my server for authentication. It's also running Samba.
Okay.
Samba Active Directory.
Right.
Which took a long time to get running with Zigmanaz for me. The version that I was trying to use had a bug in it or something.
Okay.
But eventually they fixed it, and I was able to get it to work. But now I'm building, and that's going to be a future video, playing with the Raspberry.
Oh yes.
I'm turning the Raspberry into a backup domain controller.
Yeah, I've got this guy. That's a Pi 4. And then my other Raspberry Pi 4, I put into a mini Nintendo case.
Wow. I saw those sold one time at a rest stop on the highway.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it was a good price. They were running obviously Raspberry 3s, 3Bs.
Right.
And they were selling the whole thing with that case and games. They were selling the whole package for like $120.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That was a pretty good deal. I thought. I didn't expect to see that kind of pricing. I didn't buy one. That wasn't something I was interested in at the time.
Right.
But I got my Raspberry up there. It's got that special a really nice fancy case that I made a video about.
Yep.
And I want to upgrade that to an 8 gig if I can, though.
Yeah. So the Nintendo one is the 2 gig that a buddy of mine picked up for us. He got one for himself and one for me right after they released.
Oh, okay.
And this one, the early ones had the issue with the USB Type-C power, where you had to use specific rated power packs to supply adequate power to these. The second one I got in the black case is the second revision of the Raspberry Pi. I also went to the 4 gig when I got this one.
Yeah, I have a Raspberry 3 around here somewhere. It's buried in one of the boxes.
Yeah.
It's only got 2 gig.
Yeah.
I'm not using it for anything. I was trying to decide whether or not I wanted to make a video where I put something like that to use. I just haven't figured out the right use for it. Maybe buy one of those little gaming console things for it. I don't know.
Well, there's that. There's I did a video a while back on NEMS Linux, which is a network monitoring system.
Okay.
And that will run on a Raspberry Pi 3. There's also Home Assistant if you're into home automation at all.
I don't have much of that around.
Yeah, that'll run on a Raspberry Pi 3 as well.
We had for a while. We had what was that Alexa thing?
Oh yeah,
and we found out. My wife and my daughter figured this out, that it was automatically placing orders on your Amazon. Not actually ordering it for you, but putting it on your list. What do you call it? The
wish list?
Not the wish list, the actual things you're about to order.
Oh, really?
Because they were she was using one of those shaver kits that she has.
Sure.
He just likes a crew cut with his hair.
Right.
And they were near the Alexa, and they couldn't find the number 1 clipper that goes to the razor. They couldn't find it. It was missing. The next day, my son, who's the one who installed that, and he used his email, I guess, he found it. He found out that that suddenly appearing on his Amazon cart was the number 1 razor adapter. So when my wife realized this, she ran over and unplugged it.
Yeah,
she doesn't like the idea of this thing listening in on us.
Well, I've got a couple of the Google Home speakers, but mostly I use those for setting timers and playing music in the background when I'm working on things. Just little mundane things like that, but there have been a few times when it's been real handy. I've had my hands full or working in the kitchen, and it's like, well, I don't want to grab my phone because my hands are covered with stuff. I can look up a conversion or something, and the speaker will just tell me. And apologies for anybody whose speaker is going off because of our discussion. Whoops. But yeah, it's interesting. And I just saw in one of the news articles I looked at this morning that I think it's Google, Apple, and Amazon, and I think it might have been Samsung as well. They've come to some agreement on a Zigbee standard that's going to help to unify home automation equipment starting sometime in 2021.
Well, I hope they consider security properly.
Yeah, I'm not going to hold my breath on that one, but
obviously for obvious reasons, I'm a security eccentric. I call myself a purist. Some people call me an eccentric because I like to have things secure. I don't allow any remote access into this network.
Yeah.
Even though my technology is capable of allowing it, I don't do it.
Right.
Eventually, what I'm going to do is, since I may want to upgrade my router first. The one I have is pretty good, but I'd like to get one that's maybe a little bit better, especially when I go to, I'm going to upgrade my service so I have 1 gig.
Nice.
Right. I may buy a new router, a new wireless / home initial router. I mean, my distribution is really a 24 port switch that I have over there, and it's a smart switch that goes through the whole house. I have connectors everywhere.
Yeah.
There's a wall connector right behind this PC. There's another one over here on the right. Basically, I go connection whenever I can.
Right.
I'm not big into the wireless, partly because of security, even though nobody can ever guess my password.
Right.
my password for the, but you never know if I had visitors, because I don't change it that often. So even having a 32-character password with a set of obscure characters and upper and lower case and numbers strewn throughout it in a pattern that I know, but that nobody could possibly guess.
Right.
Even though I have that, I still worry about wireless.
Yeah.
If somebody puts a sniffer on there, even though I got a nice network switch, there are ways around that.
Oh yeah.
So that's what I worry about. But I may set up a DMZ. What I may do is I'm going to have an extra Buffalo NAS server, and I could do it with this one, but I think I want to get the next better one, and I'll set up a DMZ off of this secondary leg of the switch,
right?
Because I can segment it, and then I'll have that NAS server sitting there, and it will be something that's accessible, of course, with 2-factor authentication from the outside, and then from the inside, I would get to that as well. So that would be my transfer point if I wanted to transfer files, for example.
Yep.
That's what I'm thinking about, but that's a future thing when I'm running 1 gig. Yeah, right now I just have cable modem. It comes down pretty good, 360 megabits per second, but it only goes up speed at about 34 megabits. So it takes me a long time to upload some of my videos.
I'd kill for those speeds. I've got what do we got? We've got about 18 down and 4 up.
Wow, it sounds like an ISDN from way back when.
Yeah. Well, in Michigan, in the 80s, you had a couple of small cable companies that ran into the small towns.
I see.
And they signed multi-decade exclusivity deals.
Wow.
And so there's the choice of cable, which, the speed here isn't great, or DSL, which is less great. And so, it's one of those situations where, in a real pinch, if I need to do something faster, I've got the hotspot on my phone that I can utilize. But I like saving that in case of an emergency or a power outage or something like that. So.
Wow. That would kill me. I don't like what I have. So, it's always where you're at, right?
Yeah.
I want to go to the 1 gig because the 1 gig that's offered from the same company, and it's supposed to be the same price, but they haven't outfitted all the neighborhoods yet. I live on Long Island.
Okay.
35 miles away from the city limits at this point, from New York City, that is. because I used to work there for many years, take the Long Island Railroad in and out. But the same cable company, they offer the 1 gig, but it's not rolled out through all of the island yet. This neighborhood apparently we're in a working class neighborhood here. You know, home invaders don't do well coming in around here because there's so many police and firemen that live in this neighborhood.
Right.
It's good because we have good police and fire protection as a result of that. But we're talking about like the firemen from like New York City. So most of them, in addition to having their job in the city, and some of them are police or fire,
right?
They then do volunteer firemen over here in this town.
Sure.
My son was one of them for a while before he joined the Marines. So he's well out of that now, but he was there a while. My older son. But so this neighborhood is a working class neighborhood. I think we had one home invasion attempt a few years back. And it just so happens they picked an off-duty cop's house.
Well, yeah.
I feel sorry for the guy, but you know, I don't think he suffered any permanent injuries, but you know, I don't think he did well either, busting into an off-duty cop's house, you know, with his kids home.
Yeah.
You know, it's
well, I live in the apartment above one of my father's funeral homes, and you know, just because of being above a business, I've gone extra and put up. I've purchased some of those Wise cams, the $20 cameras. That they're pretty decent little cameras. But you know, I've tried to keep those segmented off onto a VLAN and just you know, away from anything that's got any value on the rest of the network.
No, yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about as well. I can do that with my Switch too.
Yeah,
my Switch is smart and has VLAN capability. As well. So, but I probably will. The newer wireless and network incoming routers are pretty good now.
Yeah, I switched a few years ago to Unify wireless equipment.
Oh yeah.
So it's marketed. Well, they don't really do much marketing from the company, but their product placement is claiming to be enterprise. It's more prosumer or entry level enterprise equipment. Very aggressively priced. And so, you know, it seemed to me like a no-brainer because I had been running, I'd actually run Buffalo routers with DDWRT firmware on it for years. And so I'd kind of explored the limits of those devices, and I wanted to just do something a little bit better.
Wow.
And so I made the jump, and, you know, it's funny because my very first wireless equipment, you know, in 99 or 2000 was a separate wireless access point and router. And I've come full circle back to that after using the combined units for years.
You just reminded me as I was cleaning this place up to redo my office/studio here. I didn't realize it, but I kept both of my previous generation routers.
Oh wow!
Wireless routers. They're both Linksys. One says Cisco.
Okay. Yeah.
Really Linksys that got bought out by Cisco. The other one just says Linksys, the older one.
Yeah.
But they're different generations of wireless capability.
Yeah.
Linksys. So the one that I have now, which is an Asus, it supports all of the different traffic capabilities.
Oh yeah.
So, but the other two were just Linksys that I had before that. But that's before I was with YouTube.
Right.
You know, ever since I've been on YouTube, I've had that Asus one.
Yeah.
But now it's getting dated. It's approaching 2 years old.
Yep.
You know, and those things don't have a long life. So
no.
So
no, that was my realization with the consumer level networking equipment is you can usually get 2 years out of it, after which you'll get no more updates.
Right, exactly. That's what's happening with the Asus too soon.
Yeah, and I mean, I even had another brand that was, supposed to be more prosumer or entry level enterprise, Zyzel. And I think I'd paid almost $200 for this router. And, it was a nice little box, metal casing, the interface, the web interface with it was a little different, because they had taken an object-oriented approach to designing their web interface. So, you had to kind of layer things on and just, it was just really different from anything else I had seen on any other networking equipment. But once I got it configured, it just ran. But, I think 2 years after getting that, I don't know if I bought into the product late in its life cycle, but they discontinued doing updates on it. And it's like, okay, well, what's the next thing, So
yeah, no, that's what you have to do. I mean, I can't even speak to how much stuff I've had to replace over the years.
Yeah.
It's just the way the technology is. I mean, a laptop, if you get 4 years out of it, you're doing very well.
Yeah.
The companies I've worked for, not just the current one, but their pattern is they replace laptops every 2 years now.
Yeah, a lot of them do.
If you're a company of any size that has the budget for the IT, like, most of the big ones do.
Yeah.
But
2 to 3 years is what I hear from a lot of people.
Yeah. It's a shame because they won't donate the stuff.
Right.
And people don't understand it when I explain to them, because I was involved in that one time when I worked for the bank as a development manager.
Mm-hmm.
What they did was they had a bunch of stuff they wanted to get rid of. We kept it in a storage room. One day I was told that to sort everything out, and then it was left up to me whether I wanted to get 75 cents a pound for it. And because it was underneath the total value of everything, when I did the math on it, it was under the value of $500. They said that I could just give it away, but not to identify who gave it away to.
Right.
So I had the same concern that the company did. They didn't want to give things away, even to charities, because what happens is you give something away. I hate to say it, but then they call you up when they have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And it only takes 1 or 2 of those calls and you lose a fortune.
Right.
That's the problem. That's why they sell it to these third parties by the pound.
Mm-hmm.
And then it winds up on some sort of refurbished list somewhere.
Yep.
It's probably the two HP refurbished, small form factor ones that I got. That's probably how it started out. They're probably sold by the pound to somebody, especially the first one. I bought that first one with an i5 2400 in, not a very powerful one, only 4 gig of memory, but it had a 500 gig hard drive in it.
Mm-hmm.
It had Windows 7 Professional, and it was on the original distribution disk to it too.
Right.
And that whole PC, I think I put it only cost me what, $57?
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
I was able to, get a couple of videos out of it. So, that was well worth the investment for that. But I wound up talking to the people on my team. I had 6 people reported to me at the time, and a couple of other people that were on other teams that I trusted that worked in the same office. And I basically said, do you want anything? You want to peruse through our junk room? And you can take whatever's in there.
Right.
He goes, but you didn't get it here. Don't call anybody, because we'll disavow all knowledge of that equipment.
Right.
And it took less than a day and the room was empty.
Oh, yeah.
I had to give out building passes, though, to people.
Yeah.
To let them get out with the stuff, though.
Yeah, when I worked at the insurance company, they would do internal company auctions for equipment.
Well, they didn't want to sell it because if they sold it, then we would potentially be liable for supporting it.
Right.
So they just rather give it away.
Yeah. Well, this part of this was equipment from the insurance company, and part of it was when customers had filed claims for a stolen laptop or something like that, and then it was recovered.
Wow.
They would have that unit and, factory reset it and resell it because they'd already paid out a claim so the customer could replace their laptop.
Well, I see. Yeah.
So, it was a little bit of internal stuff, but mostly it was stuff that was claim recoveries. I'm lucky in a way. I've got about 12 miles from where I'm at. I've got Michigan State University, and the university operates a surplus store. So any of their off-lease equipment, including servers and networking equipment, they sell at very reasonable rates. It's a few years old, but I've been looking at a Dell PowerEdge R710 just for my home lab. And, they're only going for $125. And it's like, well, I don't have to leave it running all the time, and it'll sure make for some interesting videos because with the server I've already got running, then I can have a Proxmox VE cluster.
Right.
And do live migrations and things of that nature. So that'll make for some interesting videos, I think.
I have a video out there where I rescue a Dell PC from the trash.
I think I saw that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's what people do in this neighborhood. If they have equipment of anything, even furniture that they don't want.
Yeah.
Even though garbage collection is usually Monday morning. The rules of the community are that you need to put it out there after 5 p.m., the garbage.
Mm-hmm.
But they waive that rule if you're putting something out there that might have value that you just want people to take.
Right.
And we've had people take some stuff that we put out. And I just happened to be driving home one day, and the next block over from me, I saw this Dell sitting there. It had 2 monitors with it, but I got out and I looked at it. And the 2 monitors were trash.
Right.
Like one of them you could see was not going to work at all. There was discoloring to the back of the screen.
Sure.
So, and that was a shame too, because that was a nice Apple monitor.
Okay.
But the PC looked like, and I came home and I looked it up. I took the model number and went home and looked it up, and that had some pretty decent stuff in it. So I took it, and sure enough, I did the video on it. I didn't even open it up before I started making that video because I wanted to be surprised by what was in there.
Right.
And the only thing that it was missing was the hard drive. And but the only problem I have with that's why I'm not going to use it for anything. Even if I could turn it into a server, Ubuntu server or something,
sure.
It draws too much power.
Yeah.
I put a power monitor on it, and the thing is very inefficient. It's drawing like my high-end workstation I have here, it draws 50% more than that.
Wow.
And this thing's got an i7 8700K in it with 32 gig of memory and a bunch of other accessories, including RGB on it.
Right.
And that thing is drawing 50% more power than that thing draws.
Wow.
So it's not worth it. I have it. If somebody wants, I was able to install Windows on it, Windows 10.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't run very fast.
Right.
Could use more memory, but it runs okay. I wouldn't do anything significant on it.
Sure.
Definitely, if I put Linux on it, it would run very well.
Oh yeah, it
would run it because it's got one of the lines right before the Intel i series.
Okay.
It's got the level of Pentium right before that.
Okay. Yep.
And it's got 2 cores on it. It's not bad. And it worked. I was surprised that it worked. I had some issues with the BIOS setting it up, but once I got that taken care of, it was fine. But yep. I got a comment from somebody who's into rescuing cats, and she goes, "Boy, I liked watching your video. I rescue cats, and you rescue abandoned PCs."
Yep.
So. I said, if you lived near me, I would just give it to you if you wanted it. I did put an extra hard drive in it because there was no hard drive in it. That was the only thing. Right. So I had an extra 250 gig hard drive. I threw it in there. Works fine. Slow, but works. Anyway, we've been here a long time.
Yes, we have.
45 minutes.
Sorry, 10 after midnight. So
yeah, we're the next day already.
All right.
Maybe we should offer a prize to somebody who's watched it this far in.
Well, this isn't live, but
no,
yeah.
I mean, if when you play whatever you decide to play, because it's still going to be long. I don't know how much you plan on cutting out, but it's still pretty long. Mostly me jabbering, though.
Well, maybe I'll split it into 2 videos or something. I don't know. I'll take a look at the footage. But I might do a 2-parter and break it up a little bit.
Yeah, I was surprised some of my really long videos out there that are like an hour, they still get a lot of views.
Yeah.
I was surprised by that. It was a 3-video sequence, actually 5 videos altogether. But the main build of my daughter's PC, she built a gaming PC. Mm-hmm. We gave her the parts of that as a gift for her moving into her new apartment.
Sure.
And I made a series like that. And for a long time, nobody watched it. And in the last couple of months, it's getting a lot of views.
Right.
And they're long, and they're not my best quality work, in my opinion. So, but people seem to like to watch it. I go through excruciating detail, though, which probably bores the gourd off of some people. But sometimes I've watched videos that were over an hour.
Yeah.
It was something important. I know the first time I was watching this guy install Samba Active Directory on Ubuntu. He made a video that was an hour and 45 minutes long.
Yeah.
Doing something that I saw another guy do just recently, in 15 minutes.
Right.
Because he didn't. You got to know, if you know the shortcuts, it works a lot better.
Yeah.
He spent forever trying to find out what the location was, and I still like it. I watched it again not too long ago because I was curious about it. But he spent forever trying to find out where Samba stored the configuration file for the Kerberos. And I'm watching this video and I'm saying, come on, use a find.
Yeah.
Come on. And he didn't even try to do that. He obviously is not a Linux person by nature. He's a Windows server. He's clearly a network administrator for some company.
Right.
He deals with a lot of Windows servers because he knows Windows servers well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he just dabbles in Linux.
Yeah.
And it took him forever to find that. And he wound up having to reinstall Samba in order to see where it put it, because it did tell you in one of the messages where it stored it. But he had not had the version of the commit console that saved the stuff up there. He couldn't find. He had it had a limit to the buffer.
Okay, it didn't write anything to log files or anything.
No, it didn't. No, he went up had to reinstall it in order to catch where Samba installed the Kerberos file.
Well, I guess in my early days of Linux, when I started on Linux when I still had dial-up, so.
So did I. That was when I was calling into BBSs.
Yeah, and I didn't know enough about just Unix operation to know that to launch or run a program, you type // and the program name. If it wasn't in your path, and it's like, I don't know how long it took me to figure that much out, but
I was fortunate because I worked for a company. I was only software support then. It was before I became a professional programmer. So programming was just a side job there.
Right.
They used me to help them write some small modules. But really my job was software support. They made their own version of, I won't call it an operating system. It was a software monitor. All written in PDP-11 assembler.
Okay.
Now that's how I got that job in the first place, because having worked for DEC as a technician, I knew PDP-11 assembler and machine language very well. So I fit right into the software support role there. But they put me through some training classes. They actually sent me to school on Unix and C programming. And that was because eventually I transferred to the programming department in my last few months with them before I decided that it was too unstable of a company. I had to get out of there. So I found another job as a programmer for a large bank. But prior to that, they put me through some good training. I can't complain. And so the version of Unix that we were taught and was running on the machines was all, AT&T Sys version 5.
Right.
So that's what I was bred on.
Sure.
And that's when I later became a programmer. That's where I was writing C programs for. And that's like the job I described earlier.
Right.
So I didn't play with Linux until well after that. And versions of Linux I was playing with were these freeware ones. You would get like 6 different versions of Linux on a set of CDs.
In the back of a book?
No, it was it was a thing. You could buy it at the computer stores.
Oh, yeah. I remember those.
And then I subscribed to it, and I got an update like every 3 months.
Okay.
And that's what I just threw out a bunch of those because I had them stacked up here in my CD racks, which I'm not using as CD racks anymore.
Right.
I put some of my embossers in here and
right.
card and stuff just to be interesting things to look at. But I had those full of those CDs.
Yeah.
And I like Mandrake Linux, and there was a Red Hat Linux, a version of it. Yeah, and there was started with an S. I really liked. That was easy for me to work with, so I played with that one a lot.
Probably Slackware.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was an easy one to work with. I liked it.
Yeah.
But those days when I first got into it, it wasn't long before I was actually building the kernel.
Yeah.
Going through the build files and building the kernel from scratch and selecting, the components of the kernel that I needed or that I wanted. Because I was able to run the thing down in one gig of memory.
Yeah. Well, I think I had it running. I think the first box I had Linux running on, I think it was a 486 DX4 120 megahertz, and I don't know. It might have had 4 megs of RAM.
Oh yeah, I had some of those too, but that was when I was running like DOS.
Yeah. Well,
the early versions. I found copies. I didn't have the original.
Yeah.
Maybe I did. I saved some original Microsoft Windows 3.1.
I've got a set of floppies around somewhere for 3.1 and DOS 622.
Yes, the same thing. I think I got those. I saved those. They're in a box over there because they're the original ones that came with it.
Yep.
I
don't have the box, but I've got the original set of discs
somewhere in my garage. In some box I have in there, there is an unopened distribution of OS2 Warp.
Oh, nice.
Still shrunk wrap.
Wow.
Because that was one of the things we were throwing out. That job I mentioned. Because we didn't just throw out hardware. We had unopened boxes of software.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of the things that I grabbed.
Yeah.
I grabbed 3 of those. And I wound up opening 2 of them, and I wound up losing most of one, and I threw out the other one after a while. but I left that one unopened.
Yeah.
And somewhere in the garage in one of my boxes, there's an unopened box on it. So I don't know if that's ever going to be worth anything, but I got it if somebody wants it.
All righty.
Well, I think it's time I think we extended our welcome here.
Yeah. All right. Well, to anybody that made it this far in the video, thank you for watching, and thank you, David, for joining me. And I look forward to some future collaborations with you.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'd like to do this again. I don't know exactly when, but I'm sure they'll find some time. This was actually a short week. So
yeah. So all right. Well, have a good night. Probably short night, but
it's so much easier now working from home, though, which is what I've been doing since this hit in the middle of March.
Yeah.
So, when I wake up in the morning, I can just have to go down 2 half flights of stairs, and I'm in my office. I got my work laptop sitting right here on my table.
Nice.
And that connects up and has a VPN to my job. And I get everything done. I mean, the type of work I'm doing, there's no reason for me to be there.
Right.
And our company was not one, the culture wasn't one for letting people work from home.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And now the executives have learned that you can be productive.
Yeah.
So I think that was one positive that came out of it for at least our organization.
Yeah. Well, funny enough, the vocational college where I was teaching at, when I started there, they actually had work from home and they took it away. And now they've gone completely virtual again out of necessity. And, for the campus that still has their IT program, it's worked to their advantage because through whatever powers that were involved, they had kept enrolling students that had no internet access at home into an IT program.
Oh, my goodness.
And so, as you can imagine, I'm sure that didn't end well for a number of students. And, they were trying to hold the instructors accountable.
Wow.
But, it is what it is. I wish them the best. And I guess that's one benefit of COVID for an institution like that. If they, if your students have to have internet access to connect, then you're going to attract a slightly different caliber of student. Yeah. For better or worse, whatever the case may be, I guess.
I mean, it also explains some of the popularity of some of the videos I put up, like, this little cam link thing.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to get onto Zoom or something, right? And
absolutely.
Video stuff, and they're looking for the cheapest way to do that.
Absolutely. So
anyway, it's great talking to you, and I appreciate you taking the time.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule as well. And yeah, let's keep in touch and do this again sometime.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Bye.